Okay, so I'm a body.
Your body. I want you to just lay flat on the table and just let yourself land.
Thanks.
Yeah. I tend to work a little differently, and we're going to be consistent with what I've been doing for the training. So the swing is pretty close. So we'll just say this point here is the halfway point. I like to have the swing about 1/3 of the way. So I'm going to actually pull the table towards your feet. You don't have to move. Okay.
I'll jump on.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. And wait one more second.
Okay.
I'm religious about symmetry. So I just need to bring the table over and make sure that we're aligned in the center point. So now we're ready. Okay, that feels good. Thank you.
She is all the things I'm not. That's why we get along
Sacred
so well.
geometrics. Now we're ready. Yeah, that
She's
feels
the
good.
left.
And look how beautiful this is. It actually sits right above your navel, right?
Yes,
I
this is
love
good.
that we're already working with the hemispheres.
Yeah, we are.
It's all embedded. Cool. So I like to get the person flat on the table, like straight, and let them land before doing anything. And I just check out the body before I begin and just notice. Notice how they lay naturally. And then I'll also just start to do some alignment and just make some gentle adjustments. But I want them to land. So the beauty of starting this practice at the feet is to create the rhythm wave moving through the body. And for you, I'm actually just going to start, we can start with everything bunched up, or you can let go. Or we can just start with just the swing, because the swing has even more give.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and get your legs in here.
Okay.
Just the ankles. Excellent. And I'm going to keep it bunched up for now. And what I want you to do is just find this gentle rocking motion that happens in the body. It'll just happen naturally, and you can just already feel how good that is on the pelvis. It's just gentle rocking motion. And I'm just going to notice that your body likes to come a little bit more over to the right, and I'm going to encourage the alignment with the table. Just so when you rock the pelvis, it's actually going to rock evenly. And these little adjustments,
I'm already dropping in.
yeah, these little adjustments are just to start with alignment, and because I'm working with the energetic body, and I'm going to notice things like the position of the head, the shoulders, where they're laying on the table. A lot of times one shoulder will ride up higher than the other, and I'm just noting this so that I can create more symmetry in the body. And some people will get into their own kind of dynamic and harmonic movements, and other times they're going to be passive. So we're going to work with both active and passive stretching. So I'm just going to encourage and add on to the movements that naturally occur in the body with the swing tracing the shape. So this is the swaying motion. And I like this so much. We can do this really slow, or we can have it be a little bit faster depending on what harmonic the body is naturally expressing, but also where we see the body going. So we're dropping in. We're wanting the nervous system to drop down. And after the body seems to land, we're using our intuition to just ground with them and become present. Then I'm going to start adding a little bit more of a twist, pushing and pulling in the space. Extending through the edges, not past that point. There's a natural point where the body goes, where if you go any further, it's going to create effort. But we're just going to pulse at the end points and let that feel good to push and pull in the space. And I can also incorporate at that point a little bit more hands-on therapy. There's lots of different modalities that we can incorporate into the swing while utilizing the table. And we can just pick and choose some of our favorites. And there's a real big difference between the push and the pull. But even with the push, I'm really working with the fascia. So I'm sliding and moving in the direction. These are the diagonals and the energy lines that I'm talking about. I'm not just pushing over to the side. I'm moving with the fascia, as if I'm stretching the skin towards the toes. And that changes the way the fluids are able to move in the body and start to lubricate the connective tissue, especially creating elongation and space in the joints. So,
And as all of that's happening, I'm dropping into my parasympathetic.
I'm feeling more, right?
Yeah, my heart rate's gone down, my bowel sounds are starting to, these are all vagal signs
Responses, yeah.
that your client is dropping into the nervous system.
And I like to do the elongation by tractioning and hooking the heels. Not just pulling on the ankles or the feet or the swing, but I'm hooking the heels for a very specific reason. My hands are soft and wrapping around with this energetic intention like I got you. And these points, we're working a lot with the energetic points of the body. These are gates for the lower back. This is a nerve stretch through the back of the legs, and it's also points for the hormones and reproductive system. So there's a lot of additional body work that we can include with the stretching. It can just be a simple tractioning, but with the intention of lengthening through some of these lines and opening up the gateways, it has an even more profound response on the body.
So I'm feeling that all the way up into my sacrum, head-tail connectivity.
Yeah. Now we're not going to be teaching body work this weekend when we do the training. We're really going to be teaching the movements. So the first movement is the sway.
Yeah.
The next movement is the elongation and the traction.
Okay.
And then the next movement after that is the push and pull that I was doing. So push and pull is from side to side, but that incorporates some more body work or working with the fascia or just working with the points, whatever people like. Now we're going to move into the spirals, and I'm going to talk about the difference between the sway, the push and pull, and the spirals. Just to add a little bit more space, I usually like to put the hands on the belly or solar plexus, just so there's a little bit more room at the edges. So the spirals are completely different because we're opening up the spin, and this is what makes the swing so magical in combination with the table, is I'm able to get these big spins and twists, which is releasing both the legs and the hips and the lower back, and I can pull on the body, which I tend to like the body, but I can also just pull or push on the fabric. So that's why I want the apparatus, the equipment, to hang at like a 1/3 point so I can still walk around, but it allows us to play off the edge of one table. So I'm pulling on the skin because I can feel through the calves that there's some tightness, and it just feels good to me to get some length. Not just through the musculature system, we're not just going to work with the structure, we're actually working with the interweb, or the dynamic fluids that interface with the skin, communicate to the fascia, into the lymph and the cellular matrix. And I like to communicate with my clients and ask them if they like push or pull, if they like a little bit more, does that feel like enough? I like to come in and actually put one hand on the hip and encourage from the hubs.
That's nice.
Yeah, encourage the spiral from the joint, the major joints. Mm-hmm. And the same thing on this side. I can come around. The swing is supporting her for me to go deeper into the practice. When she's ready, you can tell just by their reaction, their breath, how far to go, what feels good, noticing any asymmetries in the body, asking them, of course, ahead of time if there are any injuries or parts. Usually I work with the major hubs, the neck and shoulders and lower back, and just see if there's anything they want me to focus on for today. So even if they have neck issues, for example, I'm going to start on the feet and make sure that I'm opening up the rhythm wave of the body. Now I'm going to just show you guys that you can spread the fabric out.
That's a completely different feeling.
Yeah. So we haven't even incorporated the leg loops yet. We're still just working with the swing. And with the swing spread out, she can have the knees straight or she can start to bend them and come into a bigger twist.
Mhm.
And that's really up to her, and I'm letting her kind of guide and lead the way as she plays in the space. So when we come to the edges, then with the knees bent, she can go even further with it all spread out, which is just so cool. And why don't you just show them, I'm going to give you some time for the free flow.
Mhm.
Why don't you just show them what you've been doing with the leg loops spread out on the calves and feet. And you can even incorporate this if you want behind the back like you were doing before. But just give each person a time after they landed and had some basic experiences. Give them some time to play and explore.
Well, when you spread out the fabric, the surface area of the body that is now having some kind of tensile force is kind of increasing my awareness. So my awareness is running from my feet up to the calves as all one segment.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's the segmentation.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because of the stimulation on the surface of the skin that the swing brings, there's
right.
more communication to that area. It's
Right.
like the surface charge is being interacted with
Right.
in a different way.
So not only am I getting a sway, but I'm also getting more tensile force on the extracellular matrix neurology and also cellular matrix, bones. So if you think about all of those different processes that are interacting just by fanning out the fabric, it's the complexity of this movement, which started out as a fabric under the ankles, has all of a sudden brought into my schema, my awareness, my brain, that there is, a lot happening from my knees down to my feet. And then this part of the body then responds, it's warmer. So, like, yeah, it's just...
Yeah, the legs are now connected to the feet.
The legs are now connected to the feet, which is huge, Jen.
Yeah, with the lines of communication being stimulated by the gentle pressure of the fabric acting out almost like a second skin.
Yeah, and I mean, I see a lot of people who are not even in their feet.
Very much disconnected. That's why I like this idea of starting on the feet.
Yes.
And working up the body.
Exactly.
Systematically, doing the same movements in each one of the hubs. So they get to experience it over and over again. Yeah. And training the body with the new rhythm waves. Right.
And this is the beauty of this fabric, is that it does increase surface area, and also the force is distributed in a tensegrity way. So not only is the cells firing, but everything is responding to the tensiles and tensegrity. Even the sacrum, which is...
For sure, the major hub.
The major hub. And also I'm feeling now heat in my digestive system.
As the rhythm wave continues to move up the body, it's energizing the different systems.
That's exactly correct. So now you've created a scalar wave almost. Like in my heart, and my face feels flushed.
Yeah, I can see it in your neck.
You see it here, so lymphatics.
The two hubs are now communicating with one another through this simple harmonic movement.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of that from just
this simple shift.
And they'll feel that. The students will feel that.
Giving them space to feel that.
How powerful the movements are.
And I want to talk about the yin expression that we're incorporating into the body that has been, we'll just say, deficient or parched for the yin movements in our very yang externalized world. When we're coming back into these slow, gentle, rhythmic, water, kind of eroding rock expressions, The swing is the perfect vehicle for that because it's soft, it's stretchy, it holds and it hugs, so it's engaged, but it doesn't like pinch or cut off or contract.
It actually holds. I feel
Mhm.
held.
Yeah.
It's like a holding.
So the yin movements are what will nourish the body
Yeah,
and bring the body back
holding.
into balance.
That sense of
The holding, the gentle rocking, the nourishing that comes from being hugged. Yeah, that's what we experienced as infants
Right.
to cool and calm and soothe the nervous system. And we don't get that as adults.
No.
And so it's so delicious not only to be able to practice this on yourself and have it be a part of your self-care regimen, not just exercise, a whole nother relationship to the soma.
Restorative practice.
Yeah.
It's a restorative.
Yeah, restorative and nourishing.
All of it.
Yeah.
Stimulating.
Right. And then having it also be a really delicious interface where practitioners can come in and effortlessly access the body in ways that they don't get just with the swing or just with the table.
Mm-hmm.
So the mindset or the intentionality of the interaction is to open up the quantum field and know that communication is coming down from these signals when the body is able to receive in a receptive state.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is one of my favorite movements. While her legs are extended, I'm just gently rocking the hips from the hubs, one hand on the shoulder and one hand on the hip flexor. And doesn't that feel good?
Feels amazing.
Yeah. So this is a little bit more stimulating movement. And then if I wanted to slow it down, just her body went into that natural rhythm wave, I would just hold and lengthen. So there's different ways that we can approach the body, and we want to kind of experience it as a sampler. And ask the client, which one do you like? Do you like the holding? Did you like the rocking? Do you like both? Just notice what feels good.
Well, personally, I like both.
Yeah.
Just because I love to track in my body all of the different feelings, you know, like I love to be interior in my body. I love to be tracking what's happening in there. So the more information you're putting in, the more nourishing I'm feeling because I'm tracking all this different nourishment that's going in.
The hands-on is extremely healing because we're actually giving people an experience to feel these parts in your body that tend to be stuck, stagnant, kind of like gripping in a pattern. And I'm introducing a new pattern. So it's not just a push, I'm actually spiraling the hips and letting them rock, which is effortless, literally. This rhythm wave is just happening in the body.
Feel it.
Yeah, and then I like to also just slow it down and hold as I'm lengthening through here. And I'm actually creating space and elongating what I call dynamic traction all the way from the two major hubs so that they can communicate through the side body and rib cage, and not too much, just right. So I can feel that end point, and I just work with the end point. And that's really important. We're not like Rolfing. We could. That's what we're doing here. We're really working with this sheath over the body. There's a web. It's a fabric that is all communicating down through the skin, about a 1/4 inch down. You can start to feel the interstitial fluids and the fascia, which then of course connects to the muscles and goes into the bones and all the layering of the body. But my belief, and what Barbara and I have been talking about, is it's really that inner fascial plasticity that hasn't been spoken about in ways that is going to be revolutionizing the way that we are reconstructing our relationship to the body. Inner fascial plasticity. We've heard so much about neuroplasticity and the focus on the brain as if the brain controls the body. I know, just like, I know, that's what you think, it's okay. So the brain is an antenna, just like every cell, the trillions and trillions and trillions of cells in the body are antennas. And we're actually discovering that 90% of our serotonin is produced in the belly.
Right here.
And the relationship between the gut health and the brain function is now becoming like a real thing in terms of really understanding the health of the body. And for me, the main hub is the heart. The main apex of this existence is balanced through the holosphere of the heart. So this entire practice is a heart opening practice.
Mm-hmm.
That we just use that as secret sauce because they don't come in and be like, oh, I'm going to open my heart. But we want to get into what I call the electrical of the brain, the plasma of the heart, and the fluid of the belly to create this liquid, electric, light experience of communication and movement. It's such a beautiful way to reconstruct the way that we've been taught and approach the body, not just as mechanistic, but as an energetic field that we get to interact with beautiful mediums, magnificent mediums like the swing, that is just allowing for us to alchemize the charge, the surface charge, and the relationship between the parts that have been kind of seen as separate or compartmentalized. Now we're looking at the entire body as a whole system matrix that we're interfacing with and giving people a different experience of moving in multidimensional space through the suspension and through the support. So you get both. You get to lay on the table, completely relaxed, letting the nervous system unfurl, which then allows more of the communication and information to flow. That's why I call this the fluid dynamic movements integrated with the spiral energetics. So we move out of linear movements and get more into these spins and spirals because every cell in the body is a sphere. Every joint in the body is actually a hub and a sphere. And when they can have full mobility and regain that plasticity through the fascia, it releases and frees up the communication to the muscles. The muscles usually aren't the issue. The muscles are like pawns in the whole exchange through the nervous system and synapses that are firing. The fascia usually will bind or even confine the movement in the muscles. Until the fascia is released, which also is related to the amount of experiences that we have embedded into the tissues, because every memory, every experience is actually integrated into the body through this interstitial communication. Then the muscles can work properly. Then the functionality of the body comes back online. Then the cells get enough energy and voltage
Charge, yeah.
Yeah, to remember their original blueprint, how to function. And then the body can return, has a better opportunity to upgrade to its optimal radiant health. And that's our focus. Our focus is not just exercise, it's not just body work, it's not just soma, mind body connection. I'm particularly passionate about the quantum field and the interaction between two bodies and the amplification of the field when new information comes in through just simply our presence, our awareness, our listening, our watching, our open attention, as Barbara likes to say, quoting Emily, as well as our intuition. We're deeply feeling with them what they're experiencing and responding, listening and responding. So at this point, I usually like to bend the knees and gather the fabric up. Yeah, I just like to work from the next hub. We go from ankles to knees. We can have it doubled up, we can have it spread out. There's so many variations. So at this rate, let's go ahead and incorporate the leg loops as well. So go ahead and get that all bunched up too. Yeah, so now we have even more support in the feet float. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
And we do the same movements. We start with the gentle rocking and swaying, just to allow the pelvis, the bowl of energy that holds the fluids, to start to move and rock.
Right away, I'm feeling a relaxation in the psoas.
There's a bit of suspension here,
Yeah.
which allows for the psoas to deepen
Yeah.
and the lower back to spread and lengthen.
Yes, that's exactly what's happening.
We're internally spiraling the legs by squeezing the knees together and having them supported. And I can work from the hips, and I can also work from the feet. So there's lots of different variations. I can come down here and do another lengthening out, elongation and tractioning, lifting up and out. I love the space in my body personally, so I tend to really focus on that. And then when I get into the spins and spirals, if I'm working here, can you feel that natural twist that happens?
Yeah.
This is not a movement we get in
No.
any other
It's really
practice.
incredible.
Yeah. And this opens up the side body. My personal philosophy is that I call it the underbelly of the body. Basically, yeah, from the underarm down to the iliac crest, that is where all the energy is stuck because we don't have enough spin. We don't have enough movements that create spirals in the body. When we're stuck in linear movements, that is exactly what gets locked, which has to do with the intercostals and the lungs and how much breath we can take in, as well as the back body getting locked up because we're not moving in these spherical spatial dynamics, we're moving in linear space, and that creates a limitation in how the communication can flow.
So right away I feel a hydration in my eyes.
Mm.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, so tell me more about that. What does that feel like?
Like I'm aware that my eyeballs are floating in the sockets.
Did they feel dry before, or you just noticed
They didn't feel dry,
Yeah.
but they were probably focused.
Yeah, right.
And I've relaxed my focus.
They softened.
And they softened into the sockets.
Yeah, beautiful.
So, even though you're working here in this hub, it's translating to my brain.
Absolutely.
The eyes are the brain.
So for me,
and the limbic system.
The three major areas of the body that I like to work is belly, heart, and head.
Yeah.
And these three hubs are the brains of the body. We have our belly brain,
That's right.
our heart brain,
and
our head brain. Now, if there's been an overuse of the head brain through this very cognitive, explorative world that we've been living in, the belly brain gets disconnected. So the bridge is through the heart. And the heart intelligence, I call it the infinite wisdom, or the well of wisdom that comes from the seat of our soul. That plasma actually is what lubricates and harmonizes and communicates with all the other parts. Most of the body is seen as empty space. We've all known this from like subatomic physics and understanding of the body as space. But that space is not empty. That space is this plasmic, alive, liquid, crystalline energy that is the communication medium that everything flows in. So the fluids alone don't communicate. It is the charge within the fluids that is infused with this plasma, kind of like a fish doesn't know it's swimming in water. We don't know that we're swimming in this current of energy. And when we open that up, just with our awareness, this river of light can go from the portals of the crown of the head to the tailbone along this superhighway of the spine that does incorporate the downstepping of the signals into the nervous system and then spreading out to the organs, glands, and functions. So much is happening just through this awareness, and the approach of the body is different. This is not physical manipulation, it's not chemical manipulation, it's working with the quantum energetics, that call it. So just a totally different focus and intentionality will shift our approach and experience.
And can I just say one thing? When you work with creating this kind of whole body intelligence, what's happening then, there's an emergent intelligence that's happening as a result of whole body intelligence versus partial body intelligence. I mean, that alone, right?
Yeah, so talk about the intelligence of the bacteria and the cells and like how you see it. I think it's really important to bring that in.
Well, I think one of the things that I feel we need to capture as a species is our whole body intelligence. And that doesn't mean the body divided into parts where legs are moving and arms are moving and linear movement. Whole body intelligence means like right now my whole body is operating as one whole intelligence. And that's emergent, meaning there's something that can come from that cannot come from the parts. It can only come from the whole.
And that emergence is happening because of this harmonic wave that's going through the entire body.
Right. And so when you talk about evolution doesn't come from the parts. evolution comes from the whole body intelligence, the whole species operating as one whole organism.
And through us, because we are a living organism connected to the entire microbiome of the planet,
That's right.
because we are an extension of the planet.
Right.
Our entire biography and biology is intertwined with all of the elementals.
Right.
And when we open up that communication, we're literally getting the intelligence of the universe to flow through us. And it all is this brilliant body intelligence that has the ability to heal itself.
Yes.
When we remove the resistance and the blockages.
This is where I feel this training and this work has huge implications for us, is recapturing, that whole body intelligence, not just the muscles, not just the bones, but these, the muscles, the fluids, the fascia, the heart center, the brain, the limbic system, the everything, the neurology. And the cells communicating with an interspecies crosstalk. As that whole intelligence comes online, there's like a quorum sensing that's happening on a cellular level that, I mean, when you actually stop to think about it, it's quite something.
Yeah, it's truly extraordinary.
It's extraordinary.
Is the way I've been describing it. And what I love about this practice is I want to give people the experience of these sometimes kind of philosophical or esoteric explanations, but we're restructuring our whole relationship to how we see the body to take into account the last 100 years of evolution within quantum physics and the new sciences that are moving out of the mechanistic model of approaching the body as parts or dense or solid, and understanding that the communication through the signals, the cellular membrane, can be upgraded when we shift the software out of the default settings that were downstepped into the genetics as deterministic and into the potentiality and the expansion of our consciousness that is now allowing us more access to this information.
Right. I mean, the body is an open system, which means it's emergent. It's
go ahead and put this behind your heart.
Yeah.
No, you can keep that at the knees.
What's an easy way to get in?
Oh, just put it behind your neck.
Oh, behind my neck. I thought my heart.
Yeah, and then go ahead and get your arms through. Push your head down into it, and then there you go.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and let it be a little bit more on the shoulder blades. Yeah, a little further. Yeah, right there. Perfect. Now we can keep just discussing all these, I feel like I'm having a waking life moment because it's like we're having ahas and we feed off each other so well, and it's just so nice to get different perspectives that are actually talking about the same thing. And when we come into new science, new emerging science, we're actually taking different perspectives and marrying them and blending them to understand we're actually talking about the same thing, right? And when we come from a fluid dynamic standpoint and intercellular communication, and we understand the spiral energetics and how the cells are actually communicating, what those signals are, and how we can work with the quantum field, and understand the significance and the importance of the microbiome and the millions and millions and trillions of bacteria that all have imprints from the first organisms of life, and we start opening up the intelligence that they have to offer. The body knows what to do, the body knows how to heal itself, and we're just simply in training with the body. Not the mind, not the head brain, but the belly brain, and integrating that with the heart brain. So there is a symphony or a synergy between these hubs of intelligence.
I just want to say one thing about the emergent pool of intelligence. That means that's emerging right now, here on this table. There's an emergent pool of intelligence beyond all genus, phyla, kingdoms. It's got all the kingdoms. And there's bacteria, there's viruses, there's mushrooms, fungi.
It's all interconnected.
It's all interconnected.
One web
all
of
that,
existence.
right? And that's an emergent pool. that's interacting with our human cellular intelligence. So I heard a microbiologist say the other day that we don't even know, what a body's capable of.
We haven't even gotten started.
Because we only now have a map of the terrain that tells us how multidimensional, how multi-species, how multi, like multi being the big word.
So that's why this works so well, because when we're moving in multidimensional space, we're actually opening up the spirals and spins of the body, which will allow for every cell in the body to get excited and it starts spinning. The electron spin is what we're measuring with a lot of the health of the body. And when the body gets out of stagnation and gets more into the spin, then we're opening up the quantum field. There's like a torus around the body of communication. And we just have access to more information, more freedom, and releasing the old patterns of stuckness that has kept it in the same kind of replication. So every cell is dying off and reproducing.
That's
we're
right.
regenerative in nature. But we've been taught that we're degenerative because the cell is just mimicking the imprint and pattern that it got from the previous cell, which was stuck. So what happens when we open up the cells and we create a higher health through the voltage and through the spin? Then the next cell gets new information, new access to the healing of regeneration, off-gassing and detoxing the stuckness and the clogging, the congestion that has happened in the body, as well as being able to receive not only the blood and oxygen, but what I call this liquid light plasma that is the communication down. The quantum field is actually connected to our spirit, and that higher intelligence is able to flow down through the body. And it's just amazing how easy and quickly the body can change going through its metamorphosis and alchemizing all of that stuck energy, transmuting it, because energy is neither created nor destroyed, it's just transformed. So we free up that energy and we tap into the free energy of the body through the angular momentum, harmonic motion, and the movements that allow for the cellular health and communication. So yeah, Barbara, we're just moving up to the knees now, but I love incorporating the leg loops behind the heart. And now you've come into a bigger back bend, and then you can hold on, and you can use the handholds or the webbing for that, which is beautiful. And now I just want you to have some more free flow play. We've been having some great conversation, but I usually let the body come into this rhythm wave of like curling in, and then arching and rolling back down. And just go through the process of giving your body a chance to express and explore. So really that's all we're doing by awakening the potentiality.
I'm loving this heart opening here.
Yes, yeah. So we're just giving the body a chance to express and explore and play in new ways that encourage these multidimensional movements because we have more freedom and more space. So the support of the table, the suspension of the swing, and the spiral movements are opening up different spaces. I can see already that the work we did with the hub of the belly, the hips and lower back, is freeing up the neck and the shoulders.
This is what my body wanted to do.
Yeah, and we're working with spreading the fabric out. So we can go from the knees to the heart to the neck and feel this dynamic tension. So one is pulling away from the other, giving us room to push and pull in the space and play. She's on the table, but even if she pushed into the back of the knee, she could lift up and her hips could float in space, which would create more tension on the neck if she wanted it. Or she could deeply relax into the table and have just a little bit of tensegrity and tractioning happening here.
I'm loving this, almost like a, like when you twist the towel, what's that called?
Wringing it out.
Wringing out,
Yeah.
thank you.
Indian burn.
Wringing out the vagus nerve.
Yeah.
And like I say, this is gentle, it's very gentle.
But
It
the
may-
tractioning of the skin, because the fabric is acting like an interplay between the fascia, is what is creating the big release. Instead of just digging in, it's actually soft and holding and supporting, and I'm coming in and just assisting the movement by allowing there to be more spin at the edges where the energy gets stuck. And you can see her whole body twisting and turning, so it's not just the neck. That's why we like working with double points here.
Now this is almost impossible to get in a movement.
Absolutely.
There's absolutely no way you could get this. But yet, I feel like it's balancing the left and the right hemispheres of my brain.
That's right.
And also the vagus nerve has two branches, one on the left and one on the right. So it's actually bringing the two branches of the vagus nerve into harmony.
That's right.
Because we tend to be more in sympathetic, which means we're busy. And so that one gets overstimulated, right? And so when you do this and bring the vagus nerve back in to some kind of harmony, the right and the left sides, right? It feels like that. It feels like, yeah.
And see the whole rhythm wave moving through the body. Because it is like a seesaw. Whatever happens in the neck and shoulders is happening in the lower back and sacrum, with the heart as the hub. So when we allow the movements of the body to be more like we're in water, this fish-like movements, it allows for the spine to start to release the stuckness that happens in between the vertebrae by hydrating the discs and lubricating the joints.
That feels really good.
And we don't have to do very much, so I'll just let you know, as a practitioner, this feels so good on my body. It feels good to be in the interplay and interface with her releases. I can feel it in my body, and it truly feels effortless. It is such a delicious way to work.
Right.
And my job is really, instead of a lot of manipulation, is
Good God.
deeply listening, watching, exploring with her, noticing, reinforcing the release that's happened by bringing more attention to it.
I love that.
Particularly right here. This part of the body, it's also because the skin is so exposed, I can just see massive rushes of heat, which is just one of the ways that energy transforms and exchanges, right? So this energy has been released from this part of the body, and it'll off-gas through physical sensation. It can off-gas through laughing, crying. Any sort of emotional release is also welcomed here, because depending on which level and layer of the energy body that pattern is stuck in, we can have some pretty cathartic experiences. The assimilation of unprocessed experiences that we sometimes refer to as trauma, that we like to release those dysfunctional patterns that haven't been fully integrated, so we free up the energy.
I can feel a lot of movement happening in my inner ear right now.
Yeah, so the inner ear is connected to the eyes,
Yeah.
So the jaw, the neck, they're all connected to the hips. The jaw represents the lower back, same holographic mirroring in the upper and lower bodies. And we didn't do very much, just,
And it feels like I had a very deep body session.
Yeah, and it already just like 5 minutes getting in the swing really makes some profound shifts and changes. And obviously this has been a little bit longer, but what I love about being on the table is I'm allowing her to rest, pause, and integrate in between movements too.
Right.
This is really key.
And I just want to say as well that from the somatic experiencing perspective, the client is tracking everything. They're not asleep or zoned out like a lot of times in a massage.
That's right.
I'm tracking everything because the fabric is drawing my attention in the way that it holds, the way that it broadens the awareness. the tensile capacity, the moving, the rhythm. Then Jen's, coming in and adjusting here, there, tracking that touch. So I'm tracking everything, and it's so nourishing to be tracking all of that information.
It's so
It's
nice.
not exhausting.
No.
It's the opposite of exhausting.
It's refreshing and refueling. And what I love about this combination is the participatory, active interaction with the client. That's just them coming to check out.
Yeah,
This
they're
is
not
actually
checking
in. This is giving us a chance to check in and be more even in our bodies.
So for developing somatic awareness, it's amazing because it's participatory.
Yeah, you really have a lot of experience with that with your clients.
Because particularly people that have had trauma in their body, they do want to check out. They don't want to go
disassociating.
They don't want to go in.
The circuitry has been kind of cut off, right?
That's right. So you're inviting them very gently
to feel,
to actually track their somatic experience and to feel, which is how actually you heal.
And to feel good. Like it doesn't have to be painful, it doesn't have to be excruciating to heal, it doesn't have to be this dragging something 100 miles through the desert. It can actually be a delicious, playful, and enjoyable experience to heal in the body.
Yeah.
We get out of that kind of seriousness that's been kind of embedded into the victim mentality of Western medicine, where you're handing your helplessness and power over to someone else to do it for you. We want you to do it with us, and it's fun.
The way the swing moves, there's a flow, or I like the word you use, rhythms?
Rhythm wave.
Rhythm wave. I actually like that better than flow.
And there is a wave.
There's a rhythm wave that stays in the body even after I come off the swing.
Yeah.
That I can find again.
Well, it's the pulsation of the universe.
Yeah.
This is what breathes our body and breathes the oceans, and we get in tune with that natural law.
I love that, rhythm wave. I like that better than flow. Flow has been used so much, but it's actually, you're exactly right.
We're creating a new language to describe the body, which is necessary.
So when clients come to me and they say, I'm looking for more flow in my life, I'm looking for more ease in my life, it's not cognitive. You have to feel it in the body. You have to actually get the experience, the lived experience of what a rhythm wave feels like in my body. Oh, that's what it feels like. I'm not, I can let go of control and just.
How to get into the pulsation of the life force energy flowing through the universe is the rhythm wave.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pause and we're going to switch. Gorgeous.